Hey now, welcome to the Electric Scooter Podcast, episode 17 with your host, Dagwood Streets. And we're continuing our series of interviews with Zero to Epic, who will cross the United States on electric scooters 3,365 miles from Boston, Massachusetts to Newport, Oregon. Once again, we are meeting in Blue Diamond, Nevada, outdoors in beautiful sunshine. Depending on which direction you're coming from, it's either the end or the start of Red Rock Canyon. Today we're going to discuss how he will transport his scooters, how to squeeze the most mileage per charge out of your scooter. We'll talk about his sponsors. The Electric Scooter Guide will be a topic of discussion, as will we called it the Wolf Pup, but it's the Wolf Warrior 10, or the Wolf Warrior X, or the Wolf Warrior Jr. Take your pick. Anyway, that's all ahead on episode 17 of the Electric Scooter Podcast with Zero to Epic. Let's step into the conversation right about now.
On the Electric Scooter Podcast, we talk about things related to scootering and not just deep down and dirty details about specifications, but the entire electric scooter lifestyle. One thing that I'm always interested in, is food. And since we're talking logistics, can you tell us a little bit about your diet and how you plan to replenish your body with nutrients crossing the United States? On Route 20, I imagine there's probably a lot of pancake places and burger joints and that kind of thing. What are your plans for food?
Yeah, I love diners. It's like my favorite place to eat is at diners. So I'm really looking forward, and apparently there's a ton of them, along the US 20. So I'm looking forward to eating there. But my diet, and this is, personal preference, is I eat 90% plant-based. That's just what I found works well for me, and I am a trained triathlete and an athlete in general. So I find, that's what I like. It's best for my health. But I will eat pretty much anything if I need to. So, if there's something interesting, you mentioned hot dogs or whatever in Buffalo. So I'll definitely eat those.
Ted's.
I am sure if I'm riding and it's a nice day, I will want to keep riding. I don't want to stop to eat unless I have to. So I do have protein bars that I'm taking with me. Some sponsors have supplied me with a month's worth of protein bars. I don't want to survive on that because that isn't healthy either. But I will be eating. Correct. But I will be eating, bars. When I just want to eat something, I'll stop. I will not be eating while I ride.
Thank you.
I would never ride with one hand.
We learned from Paul Somerville,
correct,
motorcycle racer, had his own motorcycle building company. You get used to on a motorcycle, you could ride all day with no hands. On a scooter, he broke his arm on the Wolf.
Yeah,
so,
never. No, I would never do that. So I'll just stop. I'll spend 5 minutes eating, and I also need to stay hydrated. That's another thing that people forget about, is you just eat and you don't drink and you go on these long rides, but you are sweating. And so I will hydrate.
Maybe you could get one of those helmet things, that have the normally it's beer cans on either side with tubes that run to your mouth, but you could fill it with Red Bull or something.
Yeah. See, these scooters, and we'll talk about range in a little bit, but I plan on riding them, each one of them, depending on which one I'm riding, anywhere between 20 to 30 miles each. So I'll be forced to stop and get a new scooter, and then I'll hydrate, I'll take a break, I'll eat. But yeah, I'm looking forward to trying whatever. If there's some local foods that I should have. If anybody has any listeners have any suggestions, if they live along 20 or no places for me to eat.
What a great idea. Because I'm telling you, we're going to stay in touch on the Electric Scooter Podcast with what you're doing. And that's going to be one of my questions is, what did you eat? Did you find anything interesting? Some of these small towns, like you said, they're going to have specialties, whether it's some certain kind of pancake or patty melt or tuna dish or something. Who knows? They have all these interesting Americana type classic dishes. I know it's not directly related to scooters, but close enough for me. So be prepared. I am going to ask what you're eating.
Yeah, you'll call me, ask me what I'm eating, and then my mom will call right after, make sure that I am eating, right?
Well, does your mom know you're eating mostly plant-based?
Yes, she does, yeah.
Is your mother from Brazil? Or
Mother's still in Brazil.
Aren't they famous for meat dishes?
Correct. I grew up on meat, and but I've changed my diet. I'm going to say in the last 7-8 years, my wife and I have gone mostly plant-based. And as we get older, when you're a kid, you or a teenager or young in your 20s, even 30s, you get away with anything.
Well, you need that protein too.
You do, but there's protein in plants. But that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah. We'll go into that another time. So moving past food, the next topic I want to ask you about is the trailer, because you're going to have to carry around these extra scooters while you're crossing the United States. Have you figured out how you're going to handle that part of the trip?
I have not made a final decision. And, of course, things change. When I first started the trip, all I was looking for were 4 scooters from any sponsor that would give me scooters. As the trip has gotten more and more attention, I now have more than enough scooters, which is, I'm so thankful for that. So I will probably be taking 8 to 10 scooters with me now, which is awesome. But where do I put them, right? So I thought about getting, like one of those Sprinter vans, those cargo vans. I looked into those, but those were very pricey. And my latest project is probably taking a trailer, like one of those U-Haul trailers. So what I did yesterday is I rented a 6x12 U-Haul trailer, and I hooked it up to my car, took it home, and I started putting all the scooters in there and figuring out how I was going to tie them, to the inside of the trailer. And so we put a few in there. We kept the back open. My wife hopped into the back. I drove. We FaceTimed each other, and we went off driving with her sitting there in the back of the trailer.
Was she getting oxygen?
Yes. No, the door was open, so she could breathe.
Okay.
So she's in the back FaceTiming, and she's like, take a left turn. So I take a left turn, and we want to see if the scooters are moving or if they're falling. So we ultimately decided the best way was to fold them all and tie them up with bungee cords or those straps.
I love bungee cords. Those straps, I always have an issue with the ratcheting them, and the cloth gets folded over.
It was such a pain, and I tried working those straps, and they were the death of me yesterday. And I told my wife, I don't want to deal with straps.
Get some really heavy-duty bungee.
So we bought like 24 straps at Home Depot, which I'm returning right after we finish here today. I'm like, I don't want to deal with straps. I'm going to do bungee cords. And the straps are mostly because I wanted to take them without folding them. I said, I just want to grab them out, when I'm ready to change scooters, put one in, take the other one out. But now I decided, no, I'm going to fold them.
And bungee them?
And bungee them,
okay.
And they'll be more secure. So It looks like a trailer, maybe a 6x10, maybe a 6x12. I'm not sure if I'm going to be buying a trailer because now, and you know people in the trailer business, that it may be even better to buy a trailer because 45 days, which is the time I'll be gone, renting one from U-Haul is about half the price of a new trailer. So I may just buy one and either sell it at the end, or if I decide to keep it, I'll keep all the scooters in it. I'm not sure, but it looks like a trailer will be the solution.
My trailer insider tells me that used trailers for some reason are really expensive right now, and that new trailers prices are dropping even though they're getting better. So yeah, one thing to look at would be buying a new one and selling it when you're done. And the other is if you could get a great deal from U-Haul or even get them to sponsor you, that would be optimum, right? If you didn't have to fork out even a penny. Certain locations, I know, like from Oregon to Las Vegas, you get them for next to nothing. That's rental cars and U-Hauls, because so many people are moving in that direction that they get a glut of them, and they just need them coming back down south. I have a friend who sold a house in Portland and moved to Las Vegas, and that's what he told me. He said that the rental prices for cars and trailers, U-Haul and things like that, it might be 4 times the price going one direction as it is in return. And he just gets these phenomenal deals. He's renting huge trucks, for like $12 a day, $15, $18 a day, as long as he's coming from Oregon in this direction. It's really crazy. So you got to do your homework, do your analysis.
Yeah, man. It's the Electric Scooter Podcast. IRA. ESP. ESP. ESP, y'all. ESP. ESP. ESP, y'all. ESP. ESP.
All right, the next topic I want to talk about is range. And again, it's something that I personally am very curious about. How much are you budgeting in general the distance that your, let's say, Wolf Warrior will go? And maybe the other scooters, the in-between scooters, I know you're riding them to get a little break from your posture and, switching to the thumb throttle and those kind of things. So let's start with the Wolf. How much are you counting on per scooter? How many changes of scooter are you going to make per day?
Yeah, I'm planning on probably six to 8 scooters a day. The issue with electric scooters, for those people that aren't familiar with them, is the faster you go, the range gets reduced dramatically. So anything above 30 miles an hour, you get a lot less range in terms of miles than you would if you were going 20-25. So what I've done and been doing in the last month is I take all my scooters out and I ride them at different speeds to see what kind of range I can get out of them. And I've noticed that below 30, even the difference between averaging 27 miles an hour versus 31 is dramatic in terms of the amount of more range I get at 27 miles an hour. So I figured that the sweet spot for me is going to be about 25 miles an hour. And I will say the Wolf Warrior, to be safe, I'm going to say 35 miles I could get out of that. Probably more, but I'd be okay, because there's obviously wind. Then you need to consider which affects the range. You need to consider if you're going uphill.
35 miles, did you say?
Yeah, I'm going to say 35 miles. I could get it pretty easily on 25 miles an hour. So I'll be riding, a lot of the Wolves, but the 010X Limited, which I just got, 2 of them a few days ago. Now I'm starting my range test on those. And like I said, I came here. This is about 14 miles from my house. I'm going to go back. The battery tells me, from what I can see, that I'll easily make it back. So I imagine I'll get 30 miles out of these guys. So I have 2 of those. And, and again, at 25 miles an hour, even though this goes much faster. And the other ones I'll ride when I go through town. I'll probably ride, the Enokim about 10 miles. I'll ride the Apollo Explorer. But then I have the Phantom, which I haven't gotten yet, so I have not tested the range on that, but I imagine I'll get 20 miles an hour easily out of it. So I think 6 to 8 scooters a day will be fine.
And the Apollo Phantom is a beefier scooter than the Apollo Explorer.
Yes,
correct?
It is. Yeah, it's beefier, faster, better quality. It's actually the first scooter that Apollo built, and they can explain this much better than I do, but they were really, really involved in the production, and apparently they even started a factory where they are building these themselves and having them manufactured themselves. So, and even in terms of quality, it's night and day from not that they were not good before, but before they came from a third-party manufacturer. So I'm really excited, as is everyone in the scooter community, about the Phantom.
I hear good things about Apollo as a company. I've dealt with Fluid Freeride and Voro and a lot of the different companies directly. I have not dealt with Apollo yet, but everything I hear is that their customer service is excellent. They're just a solid company. And getting involved directly with the companies in China is huge, and it's a very positive step, and of course we all should encourage that.
This trip is about the cause, right? It's about me promoting the cause, micromobiles, which we will talk about, electric scooters, and a different mode of transportation, which is going to alleviate traffic, pollution, noise from the cities, and it's the only way to sustain the growth of cities is through changing the way we move around. And this is where electric scooters in particular are going to play a part. And when I started going to scooter companies and looking for sponsorship, I thought that somebody was going to say, okay, we're going to be the official sponsors of this trip, and you can only use such and such scooter. But the exact opposite happened. When I reached out to Voro Motors and Apollo, they both said, we don't care who else gets on board. This is about the cause. We're going to provide you with scooters. We have no expectations of it's not like a business negotiation. You have to post so many times on social media. You have to say how great we are so many times on your YouTube channel. There was none of that. So immediately they both came on board, and they said, here, we support you. We support what you're doing. Here are the scooters, which was phenomenal. So then Fluid Freeride, I reached out to them, and they were like, hey, we're on board. What do you need? And like, who asks that? What do you need? Well, I need a little bit of money, and I need some scooters.
Right.
Well, you got it. We'll help you with those things. And same with Falcon. We gave you the Zeros, and then so I got Zero scooters, and then I got, now I have a Rev Rides who is giving me the 011X, and all of them. And I'm not just saying this because they're my sponsors, but these people have been so generous and so kind to me and helping me with whatever I needed in terms of scooters. It is so great to see that, as I always say, a rising tide lifts all boats. And all of these companies who are direct competitors, by the way, they sell some of the same Fluid and Voro sell Cabo. These are direct competitors.
Even different scooters have some of the same components that come out of the same factory.
But
just
configured
differently.
These guys who compete are coming together for the betterment of the industry. So I'm basically just a conduit, right? I'm just a person who's bringing taking the word out and taking this trip to gain attention. But they say, I don't care who else is involved. Here's our contribution. So everybody's working for, to make this bigger and better, and it's wonderful.
Chuck Temple had a nice quote that I don't remember word for word, but paraphrasing, he said something like, a lot of people think our organization, the Electric Scooter Guide, is out to recommend to people what scooter to buy, because that's what our videos focus on, and we do a lot of comparisons, he said. But it's really, and I think it dovetails with what you're doing, it's really to make the world a better place and more emissions and environmentally friendly, so that our grandchildren, and like I mentioned earlier, the trajectory we're on right now is unsustainable. We've got to do something.
Yeah, and the guys at Electric Scooter Guide have been amazing to me, and the people that say that, they push such and such scooter, that's absolute nonsense. Most of their, they have a Tuesday night live show that they do from a studio. And they usually review scooters. But they actually, about a month ago, dedicated an entire episode to interviewing me. And I'm not helping them sell anything.
Right.
They're making no money.
Right.
They're just promoting my trip and telling people what I'm doing. So they have been, from day one, supportive. They've been behind me. They're all about the cause, and I cannot thank Chuck and,
they
and
are
the team.
Surprisingly candid, and not just the Electric Scooter Guide as an organization, but I've seen interviews with Apollo, with Fluid Freeride, with Voro Motors. They don't hesitate to say something like, yeah, we don't like the brakes on this one, or, the throttle could be improved. Even the guys from Apollo, they're saying, yeah, even the scooter they sell, I wouldn't recommend this because I don't like this or that. It's not for me. And I don't know if that's out of complete altruism or based on the dynamic, or a combination of the dynamic that it's another company in China that's making these, and they're trying to push them to meet their specs, to meet what they want, but they sometimes fall short. But like what Apollo's doing is awesome, giving them feedback and being actively involved in the development of the scooter itself. The Electric Scooter Podcast. The only podcast scientifically proven to make you smarter, better looking, a better dancer, and extremely attractive. Don't argue with science. There are certain things, like I mentioned, like on the Wolf Warrior, the way the wiring is, that if you collapse the scooter, if you don't personally put a zip tie on there yourself, there's a chance it will scissor, it will clip that wire, and you're just dead in the water. So I'm hoping Fluid Freeride, Rev Ride, Apollo, all these different companies are in close contact with their folks in China and making sure that things like that there is quality, continual quality improvement. Did you notice on the Wolf Warrior, like we talked about, do you have 11s or 11 plus?
I have the 11s. What's the difference between the 11
The 11
plus?
plus, the 11 you'll notice has the big orange and yellow button for turbo.
I have the
and
11 plus.
So you have the 11 plus, which you can't tell if you're in turbo mode or eco mode, whereas on the old ones, on the 11, you could. Now, the 11 Plus has a better battery, which is better, and it looks more streamlined on the 11 Plus, the turbo and eco, but you have no indication of what mode you're in. So there was obviously some kind of feedback to the factory. Hey, those buttons look like something that was on Apollo 13, from the 1960s, those buttons. So make them look better. But in doing that, there was also there was an upgrade in appearance and a slight downgrade in functionality.
But I'll tell you what, these companies are listening to feedback, and I'll give you a perfect example for those you guys who own the Wolf Warrior 11. The kickstand, right? It's this massive kickstand.
Kind of dangerous.
It's dangerous, and it has this pointy edge on the side that everybody cuts themselves right on the shin.
Yeah.
Well, I just received yesterday the Wolf X. Okay, Cabo sent me the Wolf X,
which is only 10-inch wheels as opposed to 11.
They call it a baby Wolf Warrior, and I haven't ridden it yet. I'm super excited to ride it, but they have put a plastic cover over the kickstand.
Oh,
okay,
that's
and
great.
They also rounded the edge where everybody was cutting their legs on.
It tore open the door of my van because I put it in and out, and I didn't even realize it. I can show it to you. It just put a big tear in the fabric in the side of my door.
So they do listen. They produce it. Maybe it was an oversight when it was made, but then people, give feedback. And then the next version, which the X is really, from what I understand, is what they're going to be pushing here a lot, because the Wolf Warrior is just a beast. The 11 is just a beast. And it's not for everyone. So the Baby Wolf, and it comes with, these hybrid off-road street tires. It's like this cute little baby wolf is what it's...
A wolf pup.
Wolf pup. But I think it's going to be suitable for a lot more people and easier to ride. And so I'm looking forward to it. But they have made some changes, and it's nice to see that they do pay attention.
Mm-hmm. continual quality improvement. Yay.
Exactly.
Is it possible that another electric scooter podcast has just flown by? Hey, stay tuned next week. We are going to have another amazing podcast for you. So, until then, you know what I always say. Keep the shiny side up and the dirty side down.